Good evening, everyone. I see a lot of you have already joined today, and more are still joining. So I want to start by thanking you for joining as well, and just showing up. As we always say, that's very important. It's the first step to doing things. Just show up. And for those that don't know me, my name is Nelson Karisa. Originally from Kenya, but I'm based out of Dubai, and I work for PMI. I've been working for PMI for 6 years now, over 6 years. This is one of the initiatives that we have in the region to support you, candidates like you, as you plan to sit for your PMP exam, to handhold you and to provide you all the necessary support and resources that you need in order to be successful and go ahead and elevate your career and also just pass your PMP exams. So really thankful for you to show up today, and just being able to interact with the fellow candidates, even on the WhatsApp group as well. Yeah, so thank you so much. A little bit about this program, mentioned a bit. We started this to ensure that we handhold you. We help you as you prepare for your PMP exam. We answer most of your questions. We provide a platform where you can interact with the rest of the candidates as well. You can answer questions, you can be able to interact with material, and be able to get perspectives, be able to have that opportunity to see what others have done, and how they prepared for those that have passed their PMP exams. And we started earlier this year, and we do this every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So this is this week's second webinar. We started, the first one was on Tuesday. And so today we have another session as well. I just want to start by also saying that if you're here, please post on the chat where you're from. Like I said, I started by saying I'm from Kenya, but I'm based out of Dubai. So I'd like to hear where you're from. I know we are all over. The number is growing now. So yeah, we have Nigeria, Ghana, Nigeria, yes, Kenya, South Africa. Good. As you're posting that, also post where when you're sitting for your PMP exam. The reason why we keep asking this is that we want to encourage you to even those that are sitting for the exam soon, we want to encourage you even to go on and pass your exams. And also, you can find people that you're sitting for the exam at the same time, the same date, or maybe in the same country, and you'll be able to connect. So yes, this is why we ask. So please post even when you're sitting for the PMP exam as well in the chat. Yes, and I see so many. South Africa, Ethiopia, is one from Canada, who is from Benin. Welcome, Zimbabwe. And wishing you success, all of you that are sitting for the PMP exam this month and even next month. We're here to support you. Yeah, so keep posting. I'll just introduce today's instructor, who is a very seasoned professional that I've known for a while. He has been in the PMI community for a very long time. Now he is a certified professional, certified trainer, and also part of an ATP as well, the engineer, Tororiro Isaac Chaza from Zimbabwe, who will be taking us through the session today on building shared understanding and then budget management. We have different topics on different days, and we mix and match them so that you have a holistic understanding of the PMP topics. But most importantly, we want to ensure that I want to just remind you that this is not meant to replace what you're doing in your own time with your study plan. This supplements what you're doing. So we encourage you to keep studying even on your own. And then if you have any questions, you'll be here. A bit of housekeeping to do today. Everyone is on mute. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. I will unmute you and you'll be able to ask your question. We will have a session where we will be doing questions. Engineer Isaac has prepared several questions. We will go through that and we will do it the same way we've been doing. If you have an explanation to your answer, we will give you an opportunity to provide that explanation. So without taking more time, we'd like to welcome Engineer to take it forward. Welcome.
Thank you, Nelson. Good evening, everyone. And in Zimbabwe, it's evening. And so if you are in other places, it might be afternoon, but here it is evening. And I'm in Harare, where the temperature is 17 degrees Celsius. I know some of you are in very hot places and others in very cold places, but let's start. And I trust you will enjoy this session. That's a bit of background about myself. I've got an engineering background from Warwick University. Worked all my life, especially in telecommunications. Firstly, I worked for the fixed network operator in Harare, and then I worked for the mobile operator Econet Wireless in Harare also. I've got an MBA, I'm a PMP certified, and then I also did Scrum Master certified with another organization. I'm a member of the Zimbabwe Institution of Engineers, and also where I'm also the chairman of the ICT division of that organization. And I'm also member of the Institute of Engineering Technology in the UK. I'm a PMI ATP instructor. That's a authorized training partner. I work with an organization in Zimbabwe called PMZ, but I also have my own consultancy company, Torch PMO, where I do mainly training and consultancy. So that's about it about me. So I'm just going to just quickly go through the PM exam content. It's mainly the domains, the people, processes, and business environment domains. It says here, people, it's 42% of the exam content will come from the people domain, which is the leading and big conflict, supporting virtual teams, mentoring, and other related topics. And then 50% comes from the process domain, which is potential topic in the domain. The potential topics in the domain include managing budgets, scheduling, managing change, and determining the best methodology for the project. And the business domain is about 8%, which is general business acumen, including but not limited to compliance, delivering value, and supporting the organization change. And the structure of the domain is that you've got a domain which defines the high-level knowledge area that is essential to the practice or project of project management, which is your people, process, and business. You've got the tasks. The task is the underlying responsibility of the project manager within each domain area. Normally, there are several tasks within the domain, and then we've got the enablers, which are illustrative examples of the work associated with the task. it says here, please note that enablers are not meant to be an exhaustive list, but rather offer a few examples to help demonstrate what the task encompasses. So that is a structure from domain to task to the enablers. So today, I'm mainly going to be talking about domain one, which is people, and under that is also task 10, which is build shared understanding. So this is the full domain for people, all the tasks, 14 tasks, but I'll zero in on task 10, which is build shared understanding. So that domain is domain one, people, and is build the enablers. One, break down situation to identify the root cause of a misunderstanding. And number two is survey all necessary parties to reach consensus. Number three is support outcome of parties agreement. And then number four is investigate potential misunderstanding. So why build shared understanding? There are benefits to this. The benefits are that you reduce misunderstanding and rework. You enhance collaboration and trust. You improve stakeholder engagement. And this leads to better project outcome. If it's done badly, then there are risks like scope creep, conflicts and delays, and low team morale. So what I'm going to do is, rather than just spew out the course notes that you already have, I will do like show a practical example, right? Like for instance, I want to zero in on hybrid project, and then an example of a hybrid project, which is like launching a new banking app. Myself, when I got my PMP, it was on PMBOK 5th edition. We were doing mainly just predictive project management. But then later on, I gained the SSA, the Scrum Master Certificate from the organization, and I'm also training using the PMBOK 7 and other material, which now has got agile and hybrid. So I just thought, I particularly want to teach, especially hybrid, because I do have some experience in running projects from a hybrid environment. So I'll give an example, like for instance, launching a new banking app, a predictive and agile case study, just as a practical example. So I'll just start with a project vision. This is all fictional, of course. It's not from any living company. So it says a vision statement here is to revolutionize digital banking by delivering a secure, user-centric mobile app that combines cutting-edge technology with the regulatory compliance, empowering customers to manage finances anytime, anyway. And then the key focus for this is security, which is biometric authentication and AI-driven fraud detection, and then also compliance, general data protection regulation, local payment services directives, and financial conduct authority readiness. So it depends on of course, on a country's regulations, but this is just general. And then innovation, real-time payments, and personalized financial insights. The mission statement says build and launch a hybrid iOS and Android mobile banking app within 10 months, achieve 40% customer adoption within Q1 while adhering to the strict financial regulations and minimizing technical debt. So that's the background of a possible project, hybrid project. And that hybrid project would have a project charter, and the project charter would have the objectives, success criteria, then what is scope, like what is in scope and what is out of scope. For example, you can say cryptocurrency is out of scope, right? You can have stakeholders using RASI matrix, and then high-level timelines and budget overview, and then risk and mitigation. So this example says, for instance, a success metric of this project would be to deliver core features like 100% MVP scope, minimum viable product scope completed by sprint 6, for instance, and then and then under regulatory audits, zero compliance violations, and then achieve target adoption of 40% active users in 3 months and stay within budget. For instance, less than 10% contingency spend. So this is what is in scope. For instance, biometric login, real-time payment processing, fraud detection, dashboard, and then the API integration. And then out of scope would be, for instance, cryptocurrency and offline transaction. The reason why I'm using a specific example is that in my own experience, it is easy to relate to a project that you know or have done when you're answering, when you're looking at the questions that will be fielded in the exam. So just to give an example of a hybrid project, it's a mixture of fixed and agile. So for instance, on the fixed side, you could have the regulatory compliance deadlines, core security architecture, payment gateways, and then legal audit milestones. And on the agile side, you could have user interface and user experience iterations, feature prioritizations, customer feedback sprints, and marketing campaigns. And this would be the very high level project timelines with the waterfall showing the requirement sign off, security audit, regulatory approval, the API introduction, and launch readiness. And then the agile I'm not breaking down the sprints, of course, but it's just sprint 1 to 6, and then sprint 7 to 12. Each sprint, I just made it like fit into within a month, but your sprint is normally 2 weeks to 4 weeks. So for instance, the biometric login would be done within sprint 1 to 6, then the real-time payment processing within sprint 7 and 8, and AI fraud detection within sprint 9 and 10. Again, I repeat, this is fixed now. So under this domain and the task that we're looking at of building shared understanding, the first enabler is to break down situation to identify a root cause of misunderstanding. I'm sure you've done the tasks before the one that I'm dealing with. So the issues here is you need actively listening close attention to what is being said and how it is being said, and encouraging open communication and ask for clarification. You also need analytic approach. This is using analytical tools like the 5 whys technique to drill down to the root cause, and then also encourage open discussion. You must create an environment where team members feel comfortable sharing their views without fear of criticism. And this can often bring to light underlying issues that are not immediately apparent. So if I use an example of the 5 why analysis, this is a problem-solving technique used to explore the cause and effect relationship underlying a particular problem. It involves repeatedly asking why to drill down from the surface root cause of the issue. While it's often referred to as 5 whys, the number of whys needed can vary depending on the complexity of the problem. So here I give an example. Why logs didn't include timestamps in GMT. And then the next question is, the dev used local time zone standards. Well, sorry, let's start with the situation. The situation is audit team rejected the transaction logging format 2 weeks before launch, right? So that is the problem. And you then ask the question why. It says logs didn't include timestamps in GMT. And then you say why. Again, second time, oh, the development team used local time zone standard. Again, the compliance specs weren't in sprint acceptance criteria. Then why again? Then the business analyst assumed time zone was common knowledge. Then why the last one says no joint review of regulatory requirements? So normally when this comes in an exam, the last answer why is the root cause. And then you also can use the Ishikawa diagram, the fishbone Ishikawa diagram, which can give you the root cause analysis also. You can use, the two of them can be used together, the 5Y helping to drill down into the specific causes identified in the Ishikawa diagram. So you can use both if you want to. Then enabler 2 is survey all necessary parties to reach consensus. Reaching consensus is critical in project management as it ensures that all parties are aligned and committed to achieve. So to achieve the to do the stakeholder survey process, stakeholder analysis, identify all relevant stakeholders and understand their interests and influences on the project. Stakeholder surveys and tools like the mirror board help prioritize compliance must have versus customer nice to have, right? So the mirror board, you can, I just give pictures of it on the side there. You can sort of Google and see what it is. It's a practical tool for this particular where we are right now, the enabler number 2. For instance, here, the survey, you would have to look at the legal department for compliance checklist and sign off, for instance. You can also have the dev team, like sprint planning poker. So there is a lot which you can do. I would suggest one, you look, just Google the word mirror board and you'll see the answers that come up there. But most of this you can move where all parties can discuss their viewpoints. You use facilitation techniques to guide conversation constructively. So the outcome will be a prioritized backlog, for instance, with compliance must-haves versus the nice-to-have. You can use those other techniques like Moscow, must-have, should have, could have, and won't have. And then the enabler number 3, support outcome of parties' agreement, right? So the here, once an agreement is reached, it is vital to support and reinforce it. You do this by making sure you have documentation. You clearly document the agreement rationale behind them so that there's a record to refer back. Then the next point is you need to communicate the decisions. Ensure that the decisions and the reasons behind them are communicated to all relevant parties, including those who were not present in the decision-making process. This is part of, you'd have done this quite a lot in under stakeholder management. Then follow up. You regularly follow up on the implementation of the decisions and address any issues promptly. This helps in maintaining the momentum and commitment to the agreed upon path. Then enabler 4 is proactive misunderstanding prevention. Here you investigate potential misunderstanding. Misunderstandings can derail a project if not addressed promptly. So what you do is you seek feedback. Regularly seek team members back to spot any gaps in understanding and then clarify objectives and status. Consistently update everyone on the project's goals, the plans, the current status. Use clear, jargon-free language to ensure everyone shares the same understanding. And then conflict resolution techniques. Be ready to use conflict resolution methods if misunderstandings cause dispute and disagreement. I give an example, for instance, the hybrid alignment tactics. For instance, predictive safeguards. You can have regulatory gatekeepers role, and then you can have compliance checkpoints in release train. Under the agile adoption, you can have bi-weekly showback, not just demo to auditors, and then the glossary of, this is because I'm using a banking example, practical example. So like you need, for each industry, you have to have a glossary of banking terms. Sorry, for each industry you are in, you have to have a glossary of terms. Let's say you are using Jira, Atlassian Jira as your tool. So here you can have a matrix as an example to say reduce rework from 40% to 12%. This would be the outcome of what you'd have done by proactive misunderstanding prevention. And then this is one of the things that you can do, is to have a hybrid communication framework. For instance, you can have regulators, marketers, and the development team. There, the predictive touch point would be the quarterly compliance review for the regulators, and then go to market for the marketing is the go to marketing milestone plan. For the dev team is architecture sign-offs. You also have agile touch points. For instance, the regulators would be an audit trail sprint demo. One of your backlog would be an audit for certain outputs of the sprint. And then for the marketing team, the agile touchpoint could be, for instance, a campaign performance retrospective. And then for the dev team, the touchpoint would be a daily stand-up with compliance quality assurance. And then the calendar view, you can have a calendar view with coded meeting types. That gives you, if you are in the PMO specifically, a good picture of who you have to communicate with. And then you conduct lessons learned. For instance, in this particular example, there are a practical example, you'll have a hybrid backlog, which is composed of epics at a regulatory level, and then stories, for instance, for the features, and then the compliance embedded in the Scrum team, and then automated audit trail validation. You can then also record in your meetings what failed. For instance, assumed offshore team new local banking laws, and then over-documented agile elements. And the lessons learned and project, this is the project template. This is effective practices. Effective practices include hybrid backlogs with epics for regulatories and storage for features, and then embedded compliance in Scrum teams and automated audit validations. So you can see here, I've got a coded review of what worked well and what didn't work well. For instance, under planning day scope, it went well. but schedule was poor, and then budget was good and quality was good. So this just a graphic presentation of lessons learned. Just to conclude on this particular point, we've got a three-step hybrid alignment. For instance, when you're mixing predictive and agile, you have a predictive baseline like regulatory requirement matrix, and then fixed scope contract clauses. For instance, on your agile, you have sprint-based compliance validation and stakeholder voting on variable scope. Then you unify the predictive and agile. That is an integrated dashboard with a bend down and milestone tracker and combined risk register. For instance, the example here is a bend down chart with an embedded milestone tracker. The blue line is your ideal bend down. Well, let me start. On the vertical axis, you've got story points remaining because it's a bend down chart. And then on your horizontal axis, you've got the sprints, right? So depending on the velocity of your effort, the blue line is your ideal effort, and then the red line could it be possibly how you're actually going to be doing the job. So at any one time, for instance, if I take, for instance, sprint 4, ideally you are supposed to have possibly about 15 story points left, but you are behind time, so you've got about 25 story points left. So this is a bend down chart. It helps very much for project tracking, but not ordinarily also you'd have a Gantt chart. You'd be using a Gantt chart. So key takeaways for shared understanding, for building shared understanding. It says shared understanding is critical for project success. Use communication, collaboration, and documentation to align stakeholders. Then continuously validate understanding throughout the project. Call to action is to apply these techniques in your next project and encourage open dialogue to prevent misalignment. I'm going to go to the next domain task. Let's ask all the questions at the end, I suppose. So the next domain is the processes domain. I'm looking mainly at task 5, which is plan and manage budget and resources. The full list of the tasks in this domain, in the process domain, is 17 of them. I'm mainly just focusing on task 5, plan and manage budget and resources. So the task 5, plan and manage resources, has got 4 enablers. That is, estimate budgetary needs based on the scope of the project and lessons learned from past projects. Anticipate future budget challenges. Monitor budget variations and work with the governance process to adjust as necessary. And then plan and manage resources. I just recap again that we are using a hybrid method with a waterfall and then agile projects. We've seen this before. So enabler 1 is to estimate budgetary needs. So this activity is based activity-based estimation and aggregation at the work breakdown structure level. The project managers start by breaking down the project into smaller components using the work breakdown structure. Each activity within the work breakdown structure is then estimated for costs, considering both direct and indirect costs, right? This method ensures a thorough and detailed approach to budget estimation. You can also use lessons learned from the past projects. This is historical data from similar projects. This is always invaluable. It provides insights and realistic cost estimates and potential areas of financial overrun. So here's an example that I'm giving. For instance, you've got a cost category of development and security and compliance and contingency. And then the amount within the budget is 500,000, 300,000, 100,000 Ks. The methodology used to get to those budget is, for instance, sprints based is bottom up. And then and you can use analogous from past projects, and then you can put contingency. Contingencies, we'll discuss a little bit about contingencies later. So enabler 2 says anticipate future budget challenges. This is where contingency and management reserves come in. So contingency and management reserves, these are provisions of the budget for unseen events. For instance, the contingency reserve is used for known unknowns. And then while the management reserve is for unknown unknowns, this terminology, you come across it, I'm sure you came across it while you were doing risk management. So this approach helps in dealing with uncertainties and potential risks. There may be also funding limit reconciliation that is necessary. This involves aligning the project's expenditure with the funding limits set by the organization. It requires careful planning to ensure that project activities are not altered due to the lack of funds. So in this mobile banking example, there could be the risks such as regulatory changes. For instance, there could be a new GDPR rules, and then you'd have to use the 15% contingency reserve. There could be payment gateway fee hikes. You make sure that you've got fixed price contracts so that there are no fee hikes while the project is in process. There could be, for instance, cloud cost overruns, right? So you need, for instance, in a project like this, you need auto scaling alerts. That would be the mitigation that you have for such risks. Right. Monitor budget variations is the enabler 3. So we monitor budget variations and work with the governance process to adjust as necessary. This portion gets a bit technical, but very enjoyable though. You use end value analysis. This compares performance measurements baseline to actual schedule and cost performance. In EVM, the performance measurement baseline is the integrated scope baseline, cost baseline, and schedule baseline. The EVM develops and measures 3 key dimensions at the work package and control account levels. The planned value, PV. That is the authorized budget assigned to schedule work, e.g. the work breakdown structure component, excluding the management reserve. Then the total planned value is termed the performance measurement baseline, or sometimes called the budget at completion. We'll see a graph in a minute with all the where these are explained. Then end value, this is the measured, it measures work performed expressed in terms of the budget authorized for that particular work. And then you've got actual costs. The work performed on an activity during a specific time period. That is the total cost incurred in accomplishing the work that the end value measures. You use this for trend analysis. Trend analysis examines project performance over time to determine if the project is improving or deteriorating. You chart the end value, the planned value, and the actual costs, and you monitor these and report on a period by period basis. You can use also these to focus to obtain, for instance, estimate at completion. That may differ from the budget at completion, dependent on the current performance. For instance, the estimate at completion is based on your actual cost plus an estimate to completion, which you must determine using the cost performance index. We'll look, here it explains it. The estimate at completion forecast for estimate to completion work performed at present CPI. So you use the cost performance index. This assumes that the project will continue at the present rate of performance as measured by the cumulative cost performance index. So it says the estimate at completion is equal to the budget at completion divided by the cost performance index. We'll see the example now. So here's an example. It says end value analysis cost baseline is about $900,000. So this graph shows you the SK of the cost base approved time phase budget. This is coming from month 0 to month 10, right? And on the vertical axis, it's your costs. So your $900,000 is your budget at completion. So this is the cost baseline. We move on. Here we just want to look at what happens after when we are now monitoring using the cost variance and the cost performance index. So here we are saying that performance measurement at T1, which is 5 months, for instance, the scope performance, for instance, per force completed instead of 5, and then we're behind time on the waterfall project elements. And the actual cost that we've incurred so far is $725,000. Let's say we're looking at it from invoiced claims. So the actual costs, well, the actual performance is this orange line, right, which is above the baseline, right? So the actual cost in month 5 is $725,000, and then the planned value is 650, but the actual work done, measured according to the end value of the work done, is only $615. So we can see that there is a cost variance there. Cost variance is the end value minus the actual. So end value at 615, and then actual is 725. So you've got is 110,000 negative 110,000 cost variance. Then the schedule variance, you are using monetary to measure variance. Here you've got end value minus planned value. and it's giving you a negative $35,000. Then when you look at the cost performance index, CPI, is the end value divided by actual equals 0.585. The schedule performance index is the end value over the planned value is equal to 0.5. These sort of questions are likely to come in the exam, this particular. So when you're doing forecasting now, you're using the CPI, for instance. You want to come up with the estimate at completion, because you may most likely no longer achieve the budget at completion. So this is how you do it. You calculate the estimate to completion, which is the cost to complete project based on your spending efficiency, right? Which is the estimate at completion minus the actual. But how do you get to the estimate at completion? Estimate at completion is equal to the projected final cost based on current spending efficiency, which is your, we looked at this, it is your, if I can just go back to the slide. Right. So we look here, we've got a cost performance index of 0.85. This is what you use, then you use to estimate your you use this to estimate the estimate at completion. Let's just look at it again. So estimate at completion is your budget at completion divided by your CPI. So it's 900 divided by 0.85. Then you end up with a new figure here, which is 1.06 million, right? So this is where you are budgeting to say, that's where you are likely to end up at. So the variance at completion is your budget at completion minus your estimate at completion, which is 1060 minus 900, which is the 160 here. So that's how you do. I think it's straightforward, most likely. But schedule, you are likely to have a schedule overrun also because your schedule performance index is at 0.95. So if you look at your 10 months divided by 0.95, you are saying, no, I'm not gonna, I probably need another month or so to finish the project. But let's look at the observation. Here's everything that we've been saying here. Say the project is behind schedule since the schedule performance index is less than 1. That is, work done at 5 months is only 95% of what was planned. And then the project is over budget since CPI is less than 1. That is, we are only getting 85% work done for the amount being spent. And then the estimate at completion, which is the budget at completion divided by the cost performance index, is at 106K or 1.06 million, right? Which is a likelihood of a cost overrun or variance at completion of $160,000. So you would be making, for instance, a report to senior management using your end value management. And then you say the estimate to completion, which is the estimate at completion minus the actual now, is 335. So you probably want to inform management that you need extra money, especially this completion. Then since the since your schedule performance index is 0.95 of a schedule overrun, that is, instead of finishing at 10 months, the project will go into 11 months. So that's your summary. I'll quickly go through this one, the to completion performance index. This measures the cost performance required to be achieved with the remaining resources in order to meet the specified management goal. There's two ways. You can use a TCPI using the budget at completion, which is budget at completion less than end value over budget at completion minus the actual, and this gives you 1.6. You can also use the to completion performance index based on the estimated completion, and that's the formula, which will give you 0.9. So the budgeted completion of 900,000 K may no longer be viable since the budgeted work remaining to completion is 285,000, whilst funds remaining is only 175,000, giving the TCPIP based on the budgeted completion of 1.6. The forecast is that the project may finish at the estimated completion of 1.06 million. So the project manager may have to seek approval for management reserve, which is the estimate at completion minus the budget at completion of 160K to increase the funds remaining estimate to completion to 335,000 K. In this case, the TCPI for estimate at completion improves to an acceptable 0.9. This is a bit technical, but read it because definitely questions will come up on end value management. So plan and manage resources. Enabler number 4 says plan and manage resources. You can use the resource breakdown structure of human resources and physical resources. For instance, this is the human resources breakdown structure. You've got 6 mobile developers who will be doing agile sprints, and their key responsible is the iOS and Android feature development. You can have backend developers, 4 of them using agile and waterfall for API integrations. Then security engineers, 2 of them using waterfall for penetration testing, and then product owner will be using agile for backlog prioritization. A compliance lead using waterfall for regulatory sign-offs. So these are uses under plan, manage, and manage resources. And then physical resources, for instance, you can have the AWS cloud environment, that is the Amazon Web Services cloud. And the quantity is 1 for production and 1 for staging. And then the phase will be development and testing. And then the biometric SDK or software development kit, you can have a quantity of 2, which is iOS and Android. And then the phase will be under implementation. Then penetration testing tools. For instance, you can have the burp suite. These are mainly just for security. This allows penetration testers to conduct man-in-the-middle attacks between a web server and a browser for penetration testing. So what you have now is your physical resources. So it says enabler for plan and manage resource. So these resource breakdown structures are very useful for that. And also you can use this RASI chart, right? you've got waterfall team and agile teams, and here the tool is a RASI, and you can, for instance, I'll just do one line. Here it says define minimum viable project features. The product owner is accountable. The tech lead is responsible, and then the dev team needs to be communicated to, and then I is informed. So I'm just looking for I somewhere. So that is your RASI. That is your RASI model. It is very important to use under this enabler number 4. Now, key takeaways on this one is that banking, for instance, for this particular project that I've given an example, it says banking budget needs 10 to 15% contingency for regulatory surprises, and then EVM is non-negotiable for real-time financial control, and also hybrid resourcing balances flexibility and compliance, right? Flexibility under agile and compliance under waterfall. We come to domain 2 processes. Under the processes, task 6, plan and manage schedule. Again, it's this one is very, but given the time that for these presentations, it won't be I won't be able to get into very deep sort of planning, right? But we'll see. My assumption is that you've already done the course, and you've already you already understand quite a lot. So I'm just going to be doing it at a high level. So domain 2 processes, there's 17 tasks, right? So all I'm going to do is plan and manage schedule, right? So task 6 has got 6 enablers: estimate project task, that's milestone, dependencies, story points, and then utilize benchmarks and historical data, prepare schedule based on methodology, measure ongoing progress based on methodology, modify schedule as needed based on methodology, and then coordinate with other projects and other operations. So the objective here is to ensure efficient project scheduling, progress measurement, and adaptability using agile methods. So let's see examples. So enabler 1, estimate project tasks like milestones, dependencies, and story points. Right. Yeah, given an example of story points, like for instance, biometric login will need 5 story points, and this dependence only on the security team, and then balance checks will need 2 story points, and on the core banking services. So here the approach is you break down features into user stories. This is under the agile methodology, right? And then you estimate effort for those user stories using story points like the Fibonacci scale, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. The next one will be 13. After that, it will be 20, 21, and so on and so on. Again, just understand the Fibonacci sequence is very interesting. And then identify milestones. For instance, complete security and module by sprint 3. That is a milestone. So you need to have a milestone chart. And then map dependencies. For instance, the API integration depends on backend completion. These are just examples. But just to talk a bit about story points. there are unitless measures used in Agile to estimate the relative effort required to complete a user story. So you consider the complexity in terms of how difficult is the work, and then also the effort, how much work is needed, and then the risk and uncertainty are there unknowns. And then also, unlike hours and days, the story points focus on comparative sizing. For instance, you can say this story is 2 times harder than the other one by using, when you're doing your story points determination. Then enabler 2, it says utilize benchmarks and historical data. Benchmarks and historical data are invaluable tools in a project manager's arsenal. How does this help? Right, it helps by you compare with past projects. For instance, you can say payment feature took 3 sprints in previous app. So you can then use that to benchmark whatever you're going to come up with now. And then, for instance, adjust estimates based on team velocity, e.g., team average is 20 story points per sprint. So you know that. So so these data points provide insight into past projects and performances, enabling managers to make informed decisions and set realistic goals. A case example, historical data showed QR payments took 30% longer than estimated. So you need, therefore, to adjust the timelines to the new app. So by analyzing historical trends, you can identify potential pitfalls and success factors, and then tailor the approach to mitigate risks and leverage opportunities. Enabler 3, prepare schedule based on methodology. Right. For instance, if it's agile methodology, there is sprint planning. You can have 2-week sprints, you can have 4-week sprints, but normally it's advisable not to have very long sprints. So between 2 and 4-week sprints is good. And then you can have this with prioritize. You can have a prioritized backlog. This will be from the product owner. You can use what tools you use. There's plenty tools you can use. For instance, you can use Atlassian Jira, there's ClickUp, there's Smartsheet, and a few more you can use. And then some schedule, for instance, sprint 1, user authentication is 8 story points. And then sprint 2, dashboard, user interface and transactions, that's 13 story points. Then you can also have a visual of your Gantt chart or milestone chart. For instance, this one, we've seen it already. I'm just putting it back. But for a project like this one, you would have to have detail. This one, I'm doing A-level detailed tasks. Then enabler 4, you measure ongoing progress based on methodology. For instance, you can have daily stand-up meetings for your agile projects. That's quick updates on blockers. You normally you're asking what it is that you wanted to do, what it is that you've achieved, and if there are things that are outstanding, what is the impediment? Why do you and how are you going to solve that impediment? So that's what happens in your daily stand-up. You can have burn-down charts which track remaining story points, and then sprint reviews at the end of the sprint itself, where you demo features to stakeholders. And then you can, let's look at, we've seen this before, this burn down chart, which shows you the remaining story points. Was here you're starting with 60 story points, and as you progress, the story points are getting less and less. The blue line being the ideal actual performance or no. And then enabler 5, modify schedule as needed based on methodology. for instance, you need flexibility. Here, flexibility is key attribute of effective project management. There's the ability to adapt the schedule in response to changing project dynamics. Stakeholder requirements also may change or unforeseen challenges. So this adapting to change is very critical. When you are from the waterfall side of management, changes are only done through the change management, perform change management process, right? What you don't want too many changes in the waterfall, but in the agile, it is because it's adaptable, it's agile, and therefore the changes it is meant for changes. So in agile, this may involve reprioritizing tasks, reallocating resources, or employing schedule compression techniques like fast tracking and crashing to meet deadlines, right? Then you've got enabler 6, coordinate with other project operations. Here, you collaborate. A collaboration example is align the core banking upgrade team for the API changes, right? And then sync the marketing team for up launch time, and then use cross-functional meetings to resolve conflict. So, we've done the six. We've done the 6 enablers, right? Here, the conclusion and key takeaway is that agile scheduling ensures flexibility for example, the mobile application project, and then also historical data improves estimation accuracy, and continuous tracking and adaptation are critical. Then cross-team coordination prevents delay. So that's the end. Now let us go to questions. We've got just under an hour, and I want to go into questions. So just permit me to go to my question slides. Nelson, I don't know if we want to come in and
Sorry, Isaac.
I'm saying I've done the presentation, so now I want to go into question time. So
Yes,
you need to guide me how to do it.
Yeah, let's go to the questions time. If you can share the questions one by one. Yeah.
So how do you want people to deal with? They read the question and then they answer on the group.
Yeah, so we will
The group
start
chat.
with the question at a time, and then the candidates will be answering on the chat. Once we have gotten all the answers within 1 minute 30 seconds, we will review the question and then get to hear from the candidates supporting their answers, and then you will provide the answers and an explanation.
Okay. So here's the first question. So already we start counting down.
Are you sharing?
It's not showing.
No.
Okay, just hold on.
It's showing the slides you were presenting.
Let me get those off. better?
No. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe go to the next slide then.
Okay. So that's the first question.
All right.
2 minutes to answer.
Yeah, the answers have started coming in.
Okay.
I'm just checking to see if there's any different answers. I'm so far receiving only B's.
Okay.
Okay. I think majority are B's. I haven't seen any other option, so maybe just go ahead and say the answer in this case.
Okay. Correct answer B. The reason, well, okay, it's the workshops that collab with collaborative tools, e.g., decision matrices, reconciliation conflicts, transparency, and then it just goes to explain why A is wrong. It says ignores business needs, C avoids accountability, and D duty dilutes focus. Most of the time when you're doing the questions, PMP questions, sometimes it's good to do it by elimination, to get to the right answer by elimination. That's one way of doing it. Shall we go to the next one?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. We've started receiving the answers, and we have A and C. We have B as well. C, we have A. Okay. Okay.
Seeing as we've got a diverse answers, would somebody want to explain? Like, for instance, the person who answered B.
Yes, so that's what actually we are going to do. We will allow anyone that said A, please raise your hand. Would like to hear from you. Anyone that said A. Anyone that picked A as the answer. Okay, Abdullah, I hope you picked A as the answer. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've picked A because here it looks like that the product owner is overwhelmed with the changes, and the three other options are not providing more elaborative solution-based answer. So I think centralized backlog will be the optimal option here. That's what I think. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you. Anyone that picked B? Anyone that picked B as the answer? We have several people that picked B as the answer. Anyone would like to explain their answer? Just raise your hand. I will unmute you. Okay. Please go ahead, Claudia. You can unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So I thought that signing a fixed scope contract would be a very effective way to ensure that there's a shared understanding of the scope. When the thing is contractual and signed, it means everyone has buy-in, and then this will also enable us avoid challenges like this, the last minute changes. Thank you.
Can we just have those two, then we find the answer, and then we can move on to the next question?
Sorry, say it again.
I say, can we, because of time, is it not better to limit, let's say, to just two people answering and then we move on?
Yeah, sure. We can do so. So maybe you can go ahead and provide the answer and also why others are not correct.
Prioritize backlog with regular reviews, e.g. the sprint planning, balances, flexibility, and clarity. B is unrealistic in Agile. You can't have a fixed scope contract in Agile. And then C, wastes time, because you can't hold a 30-minute meeting to discuss new requests. That's not how you do sprint. And then D, undermines collaboration, because the dev team, if they start rejecting changes, then they are undermining collaboration. So that's straightforward. Then we come to the why root cause analysis as an example. It says, there's the question anyway, I won't read it.
Okay. You're not getting answers for question 3 yet.
I hope it's not because it's difficult or it's
You
maybe
know,
it's long.
you know what's funny is that we had a previous session and the questions were much simpler. Today,
Oh,
most of the candidates are taking time, which is
the others were quite simple. All right. I hope I didn't make it too difficult, But this is a typical PMP type question, which needs you to really consider the answer.
yeah. Okay, so we have majority saying A and C. We have a few saying B and D, but let's get two people from who have said any two to justify your answer, and then we'll get the answer from the engineer. Just raise your hand. I will unmute you. She said A, B or C. Abdullah, you've spoken before. I would like to give someone else a chance. Anyone else? Okay, Zainab. Go ahead, Zainab. Your mic is on. Is active.
Hi, good evening. I chose C because the last response, the last Y, is the compliance email was sent to an outdated distribution list. So it means that the communication management plan is not seamless. So there's an issue in the communication process. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? One more before we can get to the answer. Okay. Go ahead, Mayembe. Your mic is active now.
Okay, thanks, sir. So I've chosen C because it's the dialogue that we are seeing here. It shows that the communication was not clear between the teams. So there was a breakdown in the communication among the team. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. All right. Can go to the answer now.
Okay. C is the answer, and the reasons that have been given are the correct ones. It says the fifth Y revealed the root cause, and it's mainly because of the flawed communication process, which is the outdated distribution list. And then it also says A and B are symptoms, not the causes. And then D is contributing factor, but not the deepest issue. Good. Next question.
Okay. Most of the answers are A's, so maybe just go ahead and provide the answer so that we don't take so much time on this.
Okay. The answer is A. It says training ensures a shared knowledge upfront. And B will delay the resolution, C will halt progress unnecessarily, and then D may cause re-engineering. So here we are talking about, remember, we were talking about building shared understanding, right?
Okay.
Good.
Most answers are B's here as well. So just go ahead and provide the answer as well.
Okay. So most people got the answer correct then. It says B, why borrowing resources while managing trade-offs addresses the immediate need without violating scope or deadlines. Um, so that's the answer. Good. Shall I go to the next one?
Yes. Okay. Started getting the answers now.
Okay.
Most of the answers are B's.
Okay. I'll reveal the answer. It's B. That is your estimated completion is equal to your budgeted completion over your CPI. Good. Next question.
Okay. We're getting B's.
Okay.
And okay, now we have a majority of A's coming in.
All right. Shall I review?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay.
Mm.
A is the answer. Contingency budgets are for known unknowns like regulatory changes. B is premature to submit a change request to increase the budget. And then C compromises quality by reducing the test efforts to free up funds for compliance work. And then D is a last resort to delay the launch to accommodate new requirements. Good.
We're getting majority as B.
Okay.
We have a few D's as well. Yep, I think we can go ahead and give the answer. It's between D and B and D on the chart.
Okay. it says D, while locating underutilized resources, D minimizes cost and risk. A may increase the costs. B causes burnout, when you give people overtime. Although it can work, I mean, B can work, but it will cause burnout. And then C introduces compliance risk. So all you're doing is sometimes you've got answers which are all sort of possible, but you find the best answer. So D is the best answer of all those questions.
We haven't got any answers yet. Okay. You're getting D's. We have A as well. Okay, have D. Okay, so majority are D's in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Right. D, the PM must assess impact and explore options. For instance, fast tracking and crashing before committing to change. So A and B are potential solutions, but premature without analysis, and C is a last resort. Good. So most people did very well.
Okay, we're getting D's and A's. Give it just a few more seconds. C's, A's, D. This is pretty mixed. We're getting all the answers. Yeah. We're getting all the answers here. Okay, then go ahead.
Okay, all right. So the schedule variance is the end value minus the planned value, which is a negative 100K, which means we're behind schedule. And then the cost variance is end value minus the actual cost, which is minus 50. So we are over budget. So again, I would suggest that the people read this end value management and understand it quite well. So those who said B did very well.
Yeah, this is very true because such questions will never miss in the exam. So
They always come. Yeah.
we do have a raised hand. I want to give you a chance before we can work on this one. just quickly in a few seconds. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Okay, thank you, Sir Nelson. I think based on the explanation engineer gave, the right answer should be C. Because the B says is under budget and then uh, behind schedule. Behind schedule and then over budget.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Answer is
Yes.
B. What is there a mistake there?
No, the answer is actually C, going by what you put
Oh
there.
yes, okay. Sorry about that. Then thanks for that observation. I'll make the correction. Sorry about that. I do agree that it's over budget and behind schedule. It's C,
Yeah.
not B.
C. The correct answer is C.
I'll correct that. Yeah, I'll correct that.
Right.
Thanks for that observation. I hope
Right.
that's the only mistake that I sort of
All right.
see.
Let's go to the next question then. Okay. For this one, we're getting majority saying B.
Okay. Good. So splitting work, for instance, delivering a minimum compliant version, balances agile flexibility with waterfall deadlines, whereas A is risks compliance with agile principles, and D is excessive.
We're getting C's majority here.
Okay. All right. C, resource negotiation is the least disruptive option. Right? Whereas A would delay the priority feature, B would introduce risk, and D would compromise quality.
Started getting A's. There's a B as well. There's a C. Okay. The majority is now. Okay. We can go to the answer.
Okay, the answer is B. So the story points measure relative efforts, not absolute time. Adding a separate compliance story maintains estimation integrity while addressing the new requirements. So A is not ideal because it mixes scope changes mid-sprint, violating agile principles. Then C undermines the purposes of story points. They already include risk buffers. And then D contradicts agile preference for abstract estimation over hourly tracking. Yeah, we don't use hourly tracking in agile as such.
Okay. We're getting majorities as C's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, straightforward is end value over planned value.
You're getting majority. Actually, almost everyone is C. So, yeah.
Okay, good answer. C is the correct because project charter formally authorizes the project and provides the project manager with authority. Planning without it violates the PMP guidelines. So A is incorrect without a charter approval, risks misalignment and lack of authority. And then B is incorrect. A scope statement is created after charter approval during planning. And then D, while this is a risk, it doesn't address the immediate need for charter approval. So C is the correct one.
Majority as C's.
Okay. It's true. So C was the collaboration is the win-win solution, which is better than the rest avoidance, compromise, or forcing.
Okay. Majority are C's. Actually, almost everyone is set to one now. We have
Okay. C is correct because budgets must be derived from all work breakdown structure work packages, including procurement, term items like licenses. This is a direct violation of PMP cost estimation process. A is incorrect because the work breakdown structure does include work packages. The issue is budget alignment, not decomposition. B is secondary, while scope statements inform the WBS the immediate failure of the budget work breakdown structure misalignment. Or I didn't put the reason why D is wrong. Well, anyway, let's go to the next one.
Okay. Most of the answers are C's.
Okay.
Answers C's. Yeah.
It says B. B is correct. The audit failure reviews security compliance checks, which are part of the definition of done. And which were not fully met despite complete user stories. A and C are related to the audit failure, and then D is irrelevant. Last one.
Okay. Just waiting for more answers in the chat. Okay. So majority are saying B and D.
They are saying what? Sorry?
B and D. B and D.
Okay. D. D is correct. Contingency reserves are for known risks, like vendor delays. Paying for the expedited delivery directly addresses the root cause with minimal trade-offs. A is risky. Fast-tracking overlapping phases could compromise quality in a compliance-heavy module. And then B is suboptimal. Adding staff late may increase complexity and costs. And then C is incorrect. Non-critical features like UI won't resolve the critical path delays. So those are the 20 questions I had.
Okay, I think what we can do is go to question number 10. I think there were concerns on that question, and then just have a look at that. And then if there's anyone who has any question, we're going to give chance to you to ask any questions. Question number 10. Yeah, maybe just engineer, just go through this again. Let's
Okay, so let's read it carefully. A banking app's end value is 500,000, right? And the planned value is 600, and the actual cost is 550. After 6 months, what does this indicate? So the answer, sorry, what's happening here? Hold on. The answer B was wrong, but what's happening here is that the schedule variance is the end value minus the planned value is a negative 150, which normally means you're behind schedule, right? And then the cost variance is the end value minus the actual end value, 500 minus the actual 550. So it's a negative 50. So the variance, both variances are negative, which means you are behind schedule, and also you are over budget. The answer is not B, it's supposed to be C.
yes. I hope that is clear. I'm going to
slide.
Yeah, I'm going to allow. I've seen some hands that are here. Joseph. Joseph, go ahead. Okay. Yetayan, you can unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my issue is on question number 2. Question number 2.
Okay. I'll go to question number 2. Okay.
Yeah, from my experience, of course, gained from classroom tutorial classes, just to avoid ambiguity or confusion, a 30-minute stand-up discussion is preferable as far as my knowledge is concerned. So is C cannot be an answer for this, because just waiting for 2 weeks may increase ambiguity rather than solving the problems here. So why C cannot be the answer is my question.
Okay, I'll try to answer that one. It says, hold a daily 30-minute meeting to discuss new requests. If you go into in the actual way we do sprints is that in a sprint, while there are new requests, we say they go to the next sprint. You don't consider them in this sprint. This sprint, you fix the scope, but anything new that you want to consider, you delay it to the next sprint. You put it in the next sprint. Is that clear?
All right. That means the project is planned for 2 weeks, for instance. So the meeting is expected to just after finalizing that sprint, you mean?
Yes, what you do is any
Okay.
sprints changes that come, they don't go into the backlog immediately. They go into the next sprint's backlog.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Fred, you can unmute. Fred.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add a bit of a clarification to the question that involved the variances. You could also use the performance indicators, where you can use the CPI and then the SPI, which will give you values less than 1. Okay, and that also will indicate that the project is behind schedule and over budget. So just to
Okay,
add.
that's true.
Okay. Thanks, Fred.
You're
Peter.
welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Just want to get some clarification, relate accurate to all the questions first. But,
Yeah, we can't.
sounds of one-
I'm not sure if it's just
Can
me,
you hear me?
but we can't hear you clearly.
You can't hear me. Oh my God. Just hold up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're a bit faint. We can't hear you clearly, unless engineer,
Can you
you're
hear me
able to
now?
hear.
Can you hear me now? Is it
Go
better
ahead
now?
with the question.
Just go ahead. Let's
Yes.
see.
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead with the
Is
question.
around escalation. The PMP reminds that two escalations as mostly the last resort. So when you are working in this environment and for sponsor really like escalation, how can you deal with that? The project manager in that environment. Hearing you want to sometimes we talk because you cannot in your escalate, but person that sponsoring really want to escalate. How do you handle that?
So, sorry, it's not clear at all.
Yeah, I
Couldn't
hear as well.
anything.
All right, let
Yeah.
me
All right. Joseph, if you can hear me, you can unmute. Otherwise, not sure if there's any other questions. Like we said, we will share the slides, we will share the presentations as well with all of you, so you can review them after this. But this will be done tomorrow. Okay. Any more questions? Just raise your hand. I know we are at the top of the hour. I can allow one more question before we close. Okay. If not, I would like to thank you so much, engineer. Thank you so much for this session. You went through the content very well and even used real life examples, which was very different, but super, super important. Your questions were really very good. And I think the candidates will attest to this, that they were very challenging questions, which is actually required, and how the PMP actually is going to be, is going to have such kind of questions as well. So let's keep pushing. Yes, the questions are very challenging, and that's what you need when you're preparing. So thank you so much, engineer. Thank you for taking time off your schedule to just be there for the candidates. Please, if you can, please put up the slide where you have your contact details, so that if the candidates wish to reach out directly to you, they can do so. If you can share that right now, that would be great. And to the candidates, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up and staying all the way to the end, answering the questions, and also just seeking clarity where it's not clear, and also just just providing your own context as well. It has been 2 hours, but it has been very insightful as well. So I want to wish all of you success as you plan to sit for your exams. Those sons that are sitting for the exams tomorrow, I want to wish you success in your exams. Feel free to post about your success. And even if it turns out on the negative side, please also share and where you think you did go wrong as well, and we'll be able to guide you. We have a WhatsApp group that the candidates are there. I'm going to share that link. If you haven't joined that group yet, you can join using the link that is going to be on the chat, if that's okay. So with that, I want to say thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Nelson. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure. I enjoyed it
Yes.
thoroughly.
Yes.